The pre-qualification has been completed, and tonight is where the journey begins. Who will be the victor of the HyundaiN Virtual Cup? The journey starts now with the European Regional Qualification Day 1 live here from Laguna Seca Raceway and Monza coming up later. We have 40 drivers going to battle it out to pick up the most points that they can. My name is Evan Dalton. It's a pleasure to be joining you on this evening, and alongside me to bring you tonight's action is the fabulous Kieran McGinley.
I'll stop at you, Evan. It's great to be here and on what is the next part of our fantastic journey on the route to Seoul. It's great to be here, and we've got a 2 sets of grids coming up, and I'm sure some exciting racing to unfold.
Yes, the top sim racers from across Europe will be battling out on your screens this evening, and they will be looking to amass the most points possible and give themselves a fighting chance to get to the regional semi-finals that will be coming up in a few weeks' time. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We have 2 prelim races and a main race coming up this evening, as well as qualifying sessions for each of them. We're in for a good night, Kieran.
I would say so, yeah. We've got, as I've said, we've got some very, very good names on the list here in Europe. And of course, this being the first part of their journey, or at least the next part of their journey, they've made it through the pre-qualifying stage. Now they've shown their pace. They've got to show their racecraft now and earn their spot into the semi-finals.
Now, before we get to the racing action, let's run you through some of the housekeeping here about this HyundaiN Virtual Cup. A new concept for all involved, of course. We're racing here on the Assetto Corsa platform in the Hyundai Elantra N TC, a brand new car to the platform, especially for this cup. The total prize pool is well over $100,000 US. Series open to absolutely all. The pre-qualification has been completed. We now have the top 40 drivers from each region here for the regional qualification stages. The top 20 from each region will then go to the regional semi-finals, and then the top 5 from each region will be heading to the Seoul Coliseum in South Korea for the greatest event in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. The regional qualification dates then. We start, of course, tonight on November 20th here in Europe. We will return on November 23rd. USA qualifying gets underway tomorrow on November 21st, and then once again on November 24th. Then the Korea regional qualification stages will take place on November 27th, with their second race day on November 30th, and then China on November 28th. And the first race in the month of December will be that China regional qualification race day 2, coming up on the 1st. The format then for this evening's action: we will have the prelim race format. We have prelim A and prelim B, 20 drivers in each. That'll be a 10-minute qualifying session followed by a 15-minute race. The top 10 in each prelim heat will head into the main race. That will take place in Monza. It'll be a 10-minute qualifying session once again, but a longer 25-minute race. And the points system for this Europe Regional Qualification: 25 points for first position, and then you can see all running all the way down. 6 points then for 10th, 5 for 11th, and 4 for 12th, down to just 1 point for 15th place. If you finish lower than 15th, there'll be no points on the board for you, unfortunately. The fastest lap will get 2 points, and if you're able to take pole position for one of our prelim heats of the main race, you will pick up 3 additional points. Quite a healthy prize for setting the fastest lap. And the prize pool, of course, for this, over $100,000. As I said earlier, the regional semi-finals have $7,705 to be exact per region. The top 20 finalists will win themselves an all-inclusive trip to the World Final in Seoul, Korea. Drivers' Championship, there's $62,000 on offer for that one, and then $11,000 on offer for the regional championships. So, there is plenty to be won all across the board. And now to take you through this fabulous Laguna Seca circuit and the fabulous Hyundai Elantra N TC, I'll be handing it over to Kieran.
Yes, Laguna Seca, a real classic on the American calendar here. It's 3.6 kilometers here with 11 turns. Been built in 1957. It's a relatively short but fast and flowing in sections here with the infamous corkscrew you can see in the background. The corkscrew itself has hosted, well, maybe a famous or perhaps infamous involving Alex Zanardi. Made a race-winning move there in kart to take the race win at Laguna Seca. It was heated at the time. We're still talking about it 30 years later. It's here in the desert then, and it hosts annual visits both IndyCar Series and the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series and Motor America, as well as very popular historic race meetings. We've already mentioned about the corkscrew. These elevation changes are what defines Laguna Seca. On the run down towards turn 1 and towards the Andretti hairpin, very much an undulation change, drop towards the circuit. And these cars today will have all under control. The drivers then will be having the Elantra N TC at their disposal. It's 350 brake horsepower, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.5 seconds, with a top speed of around 248 kilometers per hour. Made its debut in 2021 and won its class at the Nürburgring 24 Hours in 2021. Since then, it's been a 3-time winner at the Nürburgring and the WTCR, driver and teams champion in 2022, and it's really known for its balance balance between performance and precision, which, well, the Elantra N TC now has become a symbol of Hyundai's N Motorsport dominance. And, well, the drivers will be at their disposal with a 6-speed sequential front-wheel drive. I got to watch the drivers unleash this at the Sim Racing Expo. It's great fun to drive. It's great fun to watch, Evan. We are in for an absolute treat over the next couple of days.
Yes, I think as some car enthusiasts would describe it, it's a little pocket rocket. It is unbelievable down the straights, but it also very stable through the corners. The drivers like driving this one. It has a compliant suspension setup and it is a fun one to race. I know even in the pre-qualification, drivers enjoyed driving this, and I think it bodes nicely for racing. But before we get racing, you have to qualify, and the qualifying session is underway, and the man on top so far is Maximilian Benecke in number 71. He won 27.3, the time to beat so far. It's an all-German front row with Moritz Lerner in second position.
It is indeed. So very much we're getting right into the nitty-gritty here as Akin here from Estonia making his way down through in towards the final couple of corners as Sean Arnold now goes fourth fastest in qualifying session there. So yeah, we are not very far away from finding out who will claim our first few points of the season, or at least of the night anyway, with Benecke looking like he's got the advantage by just the slender of margins.
Yes, remember 3 points for pole position, but of course it's very important for your starting position. For what is a relatively short heat compared to what these guys would be used to, there's a lot of endurance prestige across this field, so they won't be used to this short format that we have on display here in the HyundaiNVirtualCup. We're currently on board with Sean Arnold, a driver from Veloce Esports, the only Welsh representative here in the European region of this championship. He is a man known for his endurance prestige, like we were saying earlier, and you can see on the picture-in-picture the laser focus heading into the most famous corner on this circuit. This is of course the corkscrew. In total a 109-foot elevation change. It is a thing of beauty.
It really is, and a real challenge for our drivers here, because you've got to make sure this car is set up so that it doesn't really ride the bumps in the wrong way here, as Benecke has now made his way into the pits. Then Moritz Lerner managed to go quicker on that last lap, and now to within 1.5 of a second of pole position. Here comes then Sean Arnold up towards the line. Can he improve on fifth fastest? And yes, he can. He goes to third fastest and only 1/1000th of a second behind Lerner. I knew this was going to be close. It's going to be much closer than I anticipated, that's for sure.
Yes, qualifying has been completed, but there is a 2-minute overlap for drivers to complete their times. Here's Daniel Lebrant heading towards the start-finish line, and is he able to jump up the order? No, not quite. He'll stay in fifth position, just behind Patrick Holzman there in fourth. It is looking like the top positions have been filled here. That will be that for the most part of qualifying. A very, very close grid indeed, and it's going to be one to keep an eye on.
Yep, and we see Ross McFarlane then make his way across the line just to try and get a qualifying lap time on the board. I think he managed to get 10th fastest there on that one, but looking at the timings at the end of that one, really close battles to be had up and down the field. I mean, the drivers already proved to us how quick they are in the pre-qualifiers, but as I said before, now we're into the racing part of the segment here. You've got to have good racecraft on your hands to be able to make the most of those qualifying positions, and Evan, here are those qualifying positions.
Yes, this is the starting grid for the first of 2 prelim heats, and it is Maximilian Benecke, the German driver, who will start on pole position ahead of Moritz Lerner in second. Sean Arnold will start in third with Patrick Holzman in fourth. Then in fifth spot is Daniel Lebrant. Running down the order, then we have Kozlitsky in fifth position. Then in sixth position, I should say. Then in seventh spot we have Stapleford, Zekin in eighth. Then it is Olivier in ninth, ahead of McFarlane in 10th.
Yes, then it's Libert in 11th place. Ottaviani rounds off 12th place. Piotrowski in 13th place. Kreselok in 14th. Rataj in 15th place, with Rurik in 16th place. Maragnon in 17th place, and Casalbon in 18th. I think Toman 19th, and Marcel Sinsik rounding off the 20 runners in this one. But drivers are on the grid. We're not too far away, Evan, from getting this underway.
Yes, we have the first race here in the regional qualifiers of the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. This is what the last few weeks of pre-qualification has been building for this first race around Laguna Seca, and it is Maximilian Benecke who is on pole position alongside his teammate Moritz Lerner. So those two will not be working together by any stretch of the imagination here in this prelim, but they have, of course, that previous experience racing against each other. Then down in third spot, we have Sean Arnold of Veloce Esports, as we said earlier. He'll be looking to mix it amongst the two. But it's a very stacked grid, this one, Kieran. Hard to tell who's the favourite.
Well, obviously, you're going to be at the right good end of the order if you qualify on pole position. And for Benecke, he's got himself the first 3 points that's going to be so important heading into this racing stage. So, yeah, well, let's see what he can do from pole position. He hasn't got that pole position by much, though.
No, it's very close in the order, and in all honesty, all 20 drivers were very close together as the drivers just getting their final preparations in, as now, for the first time here in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup, we go racing at Laguna Seca. Great initial launch from Moritz Lerner in second place, and he's looking immediately for the move on Maximilian Benecke down towards the first corner. Number 27, you can see they're pivoting to the outside as they head through the Andretti hairpin for the first time. Good start by Sean Arnold, holds position in third place, and you can see 27 just keeping it in there, able to stay in fourth.
Yeah, that was Patrick Holzman in 27 there, who tried to hang it round the outside of the first couple of corners through the Andretti hairpin, but no way through. As someone bobbling across the, well, I would say gravel. It's more like sand. That's the more accurate representation there. There's 33. That's Vasily Zaykin, who's trying to make his way up the order. But a good start then from Maximilian Benecke, who now makes his way through in towards turn 5 at the head of the field. Then watching on then 87. That's Daniel Lebrun then as he makes his way now up the hill now to try and make his way towards the corkscrew for the very first time. Moritz Lerner, we watch him as he descends down the hill then through in second place.
Yes, the two Germans at the front of the order have had a cracking getaway. Sean Arnold keeping with them. Then, of course, you have Holzman and Lebrun battling in fourth and fifth, and it's all spacing out a little bit there between the fourth, fifth, sixth place drivers. No real mistakes on the opening lap, which is great to see. We still have the majority of the runners with us as we head across the start-finish line and completing the first lap here around Laguna Seca. Through turn number 1 once again, the flat-out left-hander, and braking for the Andretti hairpin, a real overtaking opportunity, and you can see battles in the mid-pack heading down towards that corner. Remember, these guys don't have an awful lot of time to make moves. That is Alessandro Ottaviani, you can see going for the move, the RAG sportsman there in the 0-8, trying to flick it around the outside, and Ottaviani, this is optimistic, and he might be shoved off onto the gravel on the left-hand side. He is. Ottaviani just about keeps it in. He's still on the outside of someone. That's the number 26 who he's trying to make the move on. Ottaviani running into a little bit of trouble here in the early stages of the race.
Yeah, a little bit of trouble there, but he's going to try and fight his way back through as we make our way through in towards turn 5, gets the power down and gets himself ahead there of, I think it was Ross McFarlane who might have been in the action as well, as we make our way through now in towards turn 6 and now up the Rahal straight as there's defending to be done then. Ross McFarlane as we make our way up the hill then towards the corkscrew we go. Just about hanging on there was Ottaviani. Then, oh, there's a contact in the background there. Someone just about managing to right themselves there, but a little more drama in the background. These front wheel drive Elantra N TCs, you've got to make sure you floor the throttle, and if you lose the back end, the only way to get themselves back facing the right way is by flooring it.
Yes, you can see battles all around the mid-pack here, especially heading in towards the final corner. That is down the back of the pack, and that is between Loring and Cresselock, I believe, in the battle for 14th. But heading up the hill once again, it is Maximilian Benecke who leads. Here we have 11 minutes to go in this one, as that's a little bit of a bobble out of line for one of the sim racing school drivers. As a sim racing school with a lot of representatives here. That is Simon Petrovski, who you can see making the error, the Polish driver, a race winner in the WSMP 2024 championship in real life racing, of course, likes to consider himself a deadlift specialist. Well, he's going to have to do some heavy lifting to cut through this field.
Yeah, Maximilian Röhrig is also having to find his way through the field then as he gets past Pavel Kresolok then for Streffer Racing as he makes his way now up the hill we go then towards turn number 6. Still great battles to be had towards the tail end of the field then, headed at the moment by the 53 of Daniel Ratage, but that's someone who went wildly off there through turn 6. Didn't quite catch who that was, but we're still running side by side. Ross McFarlane in the 72 there round the outside attempting the move is the 21 of Enrique Moragnon as he makes his way through in towards the next position of 14th place ahead of Ross McFarlane.
That was Pavel Kresolok, who had troubles heading through the turn number 6 corner on towards the Bobby Ray Hall straight himself, and Simon Petrovsky running into a little bit of trouble there as you see heading round once again to complete another lap. We're currently looking at Enrique Moragnon, who is trying to attack Maximilian Röhrig, I should say, heading in towards turn 1. It's a real overtaking opportunity, this one, Kira, and it seems like Moragnon is going to take it.
Yeah, down towards the Andretti hairpin, always a fantastic way to try and find a move on a driver then, as we watch on then with Moragnon as he tries to now head his way and try and close the gap. Röhrig then up ahead as looking to try and catch Max Röhrig then. As we really see now, this is the 87, so we're watching on board with Holtzman looking back at Lebrun here, I believe, as we make our way up the hill we go towards the next way through in towards turn 6 and then up the Rahal straight as we make our way through in towards the corkscrew. Once again, a fantastic section of circuit that we see here. You see the 87 get right up close and personal, then Daniel Lebrun really following Holtzman all the way through there in this battle for 4th place.
Yeah, Patrick Holtzman, despite being 3.8 seconds off the race lead, does have the fastest lap. Remember, there's an extra 2 points going for that one, so that will bode nicely into Holtzman's total. But as it stands, both these guys, Patrick Holtzman and Daniel Lebrun, will be making the move in towards the main final coming up later this evening. Still, Maximilian Benecke, who leads ahead of Maurizio Lerner in the lead of this race. Sean Arnold still there in 3rd, and then of course it is the man who we're looking at, Patrick Holtzman. A little bit further back then is Daniel Lebrun. He is ahead of Vasily Zaykin in 6th place, the Estonian driver. Then it is Liber in 7th, as there's a problem there. That is Ratage, who has gone off, and that looks to be his day done.
Yeah, that looks like that's a shame. I think that's at turn 1 there. Pulled to the right-hand side on the run down towards the Andretti hairpin there. Yeah, as you say, a huge shame there. Patrick Holtzman, meanwhile, is having to fight off Daniel Lebrun then as we make our way onwards on that short run up towards turn 6. A very deceiving corner is turn 6. You think you can carry a lot more speed in there than you can, and you've just got that sand on the right-hand side of the track ready to catch you out as you make your way through. Then as we ride on board then with Daniel Lebrun as we experience this change of elevation together then, riding the curbs then, that suspension being tested to its full account here. I have to say though, Holtzman is closing into the car ahead of Sean Arnold, so this battle for 5th place might be involving 4th place, and it could even be involving Lerner just a little bit further up the road. At the moment though, I do believe it was Benecke who did now have the fastest lap of the race. He's absolutely flying out there as he looks to try and keep on keeping on. Lerner's not too far behind him. 1.7 is the gap at the last time in line.
Yeah, you can ignore Daniel Ratage really jumping back up the order there. He is still unfortunately, it's not good news for the number 53 sim racing school driver. We're on board with Daniel Lebrun here, another sim racing school driver in the number 87 from Krakow, Poland. He's looking to put the pressure on Holtzman in front. Not an awful lot separating these two, and you can just see how close they are heading through the right-hander at turn number 4. Down one of the longer straights here in Laguna Seca. There's not an awful lot of them, especially in comparison to the circuit we're heading later, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, of course. This is Robbie Stapleford, who we jump back to. Robbie, one of the youngest competitors in the field, at just 18 years of age. He's looking for the move in towards turn 6.
Yeah, and trying to find a way past Libert here as we make our way through in towards that turn 6. Up the Rahal straight we go. There is Robbie Stapleford as he looks to try and find the move then. It's a difficult move to make in towards the corkscrew. You really do have to already be alongside if you really want to make the move stick. But no way through this time around against Libert. Libert himself, or RHG Esports, looking to try and keep a hold of this 7th place then as we make our way rounding through the last couple of corners through turn 10 and then onwards towards turn 11. Just not quite the gap emergent this time for Stapleford. It's good defending from Libert.
Yeah, this is sort of the dangerous territory, I think, Kieran, because these guys, one error drops them out of the top 10. If you're Maximilian Benecke, Moritz Lerner, you're probably a little bit more confident, where if you're Robbie Stapleford, you've got to get a move on, and he is looking to do it. Down the inside of Samuel Libert goes Robbie Stapleford, and that is going to be move completed into the Andretti hairpin. Made that one look simple. Job done.
Yep, sized that up from the final corner, didn't he? Out of turn 11, got the better line, the better run through towards turn 1, and got the move done at the Andretti hairpin, up to 7th place. His next target up the road will be Zaykin, then Vasily Zaykin, the Estonian in the 33, for a place in the top 6. So he'll have to get a move on now and try and leave Simon Libert behind. Jacques Olivier is right behind Libert, though, as we make our way through in towards turn 6 with Pavlovsky also thinking of a move, maybe just rather filling the mirrors of Olivier on this occasion.
Yeah, Kamil Pavlovsky currently the lowest qualifier. He doesn't have much of a threat behind him, but he would like to be a little bit more comfortable. That's a car running off at the corkscrew. That is Vasily Zaykin, who has run off. The Estonian is now down behind Kamil Pavlovsky, so Zaykin is now the lowest to qualify for the main race. Kamil Pavlovsky, of course, has performed on big occasions in the past. He's a 3-time Project Cars World Champion in 2016, 17 and 2019 as well. As getting to the final of the World's Fastest Gamer 2 competition. So Kamil Pavlovsky, he's not going to be a man that will be feeling the pressure right now. I think it's safe to say that.
Safe to say he knows time's against him if he wants to try and make these moves stick, try and get himself a little bit further up the order on this occasion. And, well, you tell these drivers, okay, you might hold your position, you'll get a top 10 placing. Those drivers will just conveniently not hear you and decide to go racing and try and get every position. Well, points are on the line. Every point might matter towards the end of this one, so you have to make sure you get those positions when you've got them dangling in front of you like a carrot.
Yeah, the temptation is too great at times for racing drivers. One man who has held himself back a little bit here, I think, is Daniel Lebrun, who we ride on board with now. You can see inside this Hyundai Elantra N TC and all 250 horsepower of it. This is in towards the corkscrew. Let's just have a look at this. This is one of the finer views in motorsport. Bam! Down the 59-foot elevation change, and then almost a further 50. Unfazed is Lebrun. These guys are well used to this circuit by now.
Very much so. They've put all the hard work in to try and get themselves as quick as possible around this circuit. And as we said before, as Lebrun gets very up close and personal with Holtzman just up ahead of him there, perhaps a wipe under the eyes there just to make sure there's nothing in his way that could stop this move from happening. We'll try and close in on Holtzman as we make our way down towards the Andretti hairpin with less than 3 minutes on the clock.
Yes, these guys very comfortable in where they are sat as of right now, especially if you're Daniel Lebrun and Patrick Holtzman, because you have about a 4-second gap to Robbie Stapleford behind, and that is quite comfortable, especially with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go in this race. The first of 2 prelims, of course, tonight, folks. We'll have prelim qualifying B coming up after this one, and then our main race coming up in Monza. That'll be the one where the pressure is really on. Currently Maximilian Benecke leading here in Laguna Seca, ahead of Maurizio Lerner in second, and it is Sean Arnold in third, and Patrick Holtzman in fourth. Daniel Lebrun is in fifth, Robbie Stapleford is in sixth, and it is Samuel Libert in seventh, ahead of Jacques Olivier in eighth position. Then there's Kamil Pavlovsky in ninth, and your slowest qualifier as of now for the main race is Alessandro Ottaviani.
Yeah, Ottaviani had a really lightning start, didn't he? Looking round the outside of everybody, going through the first couple of corners. But yes, right now, within that top 10, and Zakin has unfortunately dropped outside of it as LeBron runs slightly wide in the penultimate corner here. Meanwhile then, Beneke making his way across the start-finish line for what could be the final lap of this race. It's certainly going to be close towards the line, but Beneke currently leading the field and by a good distance in terms for Beneke. He knows he's got this under control. He just needs to make sure he can get this to the line now as we make our way through. Then gaps just shy of around the 2-second mark from himself and Lerner. But Beneke has been in these types of scenarios before, leading the way. He's done this before. He hasn't got many corners left to go really.
Yeah, Maximilian Beneke, the founder of the Pure Driving School, and this is a pure driving performance here in Laguna Seca. The 29-year-old professional sim racer from Germany, really showing his experience out on circuit. Patrick Holtzman as well has fended off Daniel Lebrun for quite some time. It seems like any time we look at the number 27 of Patrick Holtzman, and he has had Daniel Lebrun parked on his rear bumper, but there's been no way through for the Polishman, and Patrick Holtzman is doing an excellent job indeed. Just the 35 seconds to go here. I think we might get one more lap to the dissatisfaction of Maximilian Beneke.
Well, if he wants one more lap, he might be loving driving around here in the Elantra N TC. He might go for one more lap here. I mean, he has to at this point because Lerner's too close to him for him to back off and wait for the checkered flag. So, but I called that early. Beneke then on to what is now the final lap of the race.
Yeah, he doesn't want to try tactically make it the last lap because that could go very wrong. Although if he was resulting to antics like that in a regional qualification heat, you couldn't imagine what would be coming up in some of the more important races. But Maximilian Beneke, not that type. Just drive it home. One more lap, no issue for him. Currently on the outside looking in, Vasily Zakin is looking to try and get past Alessandro Ottaviani. Ross McFarlane currently on the outside looking in, as well as Rorik, and then of course Enrique Marion. So they've got to hope for a miracle on this final lap to make the main race. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult from this point onwards.
Miracles can happen. You just have to keep driving as hard as you can, as fast as you can, pump in those fast sector times. You just don't know what is going to happen up ahead. But meanwhile, for Maximilian Beneke, he knows what's happening now through in towards the corkscrew, and as he rounds his way through the final couple of corners to try and wrap this prelim race in a neat little bow.
Yes, Beneke has been fabulous from start to finish. Took pole position. It was very close, but it was never really close out on circuit here in the first ever heat of the HyundaiNVirtualCup. And Maximilian Beneke rounds through turn number 11 here in Laguna Seca, and he will be the first man onto Monza. An excellent victory for Beneke and a performance to remember. It'll be Moritz Lerner, his teammate, who comes home in second spot ahead of third place man Patrick Holtzman. Daniel Lebrun will come home in fifth, and Robbie Stapleford in sixth, just ahead of Jack Olivier.
Yeah, very nicely done then. Pavlovsky in 8th place then, Libert in 9th, and Ottaviani does get himself into the top 10 then. And for Zakin, he will be kicking himself for that moment he had at the corkscrew, because ultimately that's cost him a place in tonight's main race. So he'll have to bounce back from that one. But a good way to start off the HyundaiNVirtualCup. As you said there, Evan, it's fully kicked off now, the series.
Yep, we're into the swing of things, and absolutely Zakin is going to be kicking himself for that one, because he was the cause of his own demise, unfortunately. Wasn't able to advance into the main race that will be coming up later on this evening. But the top 10 will, and they will get a brief break now while we head over to Prelim B. And this is the same exact thing. We'll have a 10-minute qualifying, then we will have a 15-minute race, plus of course 2-minute overlaps in both for the run-on. And we kind of know what to expect, Kieran, but it's always a difficult thing to judge in motor racing.
Yeah, the great thing about motorsport and sim racing is that it's very rarely decided on paper. You can have all of these great names presented before you, but it's a case of making sure you do everything right, making sure you put all the performances in that you can, and making sure you can turn those quick lap times that you set in the pre-qualifying and the upcoming qualifying session and turning that into a spot into the main race. It sounds easy when you're in this position, but really the racecraft gets well and truly tested at that point.
Yeah, it's way easier said than done, but there was some fabulous performances in that first prelim. Maximilian Benecke, of course, the standout, but there was some brilliant drives. Patrick Holzman held his nerve. Daniel Lebrant as well. Was there any standouts for you, Kieran?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Benecke seems like the boring choice, but he just put in a fantastic shift there. Absolutely drove the wheels off there and proved to us all why the Benecke Dave is so prevalent in sim racing overall. Liebert had a good race as well, fending off what he could from the British Russ, I think it was Ross McFarlane as well, who tried to make his way through there in a couple of positions. Robbie Stableford getting that move done, really good move from him in the end. And yeah, it's a very promising start to the HyundaiNVirtualCup.
It is, yet the stapler, as he likes to call himself, sealing the deal on this occasion, and that is a great result for Robbie. Let's cast our eyes onto Prelim B then, and there's some big names in this one as well. Some names you might recognise, folks at home. We have Gael Valero in this one, we have Kieran Harrison, who is racing in this one, and some big names from across the sim racing world. Tinko van der Velde as well, another one, the Dutch racer from Amsterdam. It's a tough one to call.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, as well, you've got a name like Erjan Jajowski in the mix as well. Don't forget about Luke Whitehead, who is proven to be very good behind the wheel of anything you throw at him. Yeah, big names going in here, and that's just a handful we've picked out. There's drivers in there that you'll recognise. You'll say, oh yeah, I know that person. Is very prevalent in this and this, but this is the point. We've managed to gather these drivers together because of their lap times, and the fact that we're seeing these familiar names only means one thing: we should be in for some very quick racing and for some, hopefully, very good racing.
Yeah, remember folks that these guys aren't randomly here. They have qualified to be here. These are 20 of the 40 top quickest drivers in the European region, and there was quite a hefty number of drivers attempting to qualify for this championship, because who wouldn't want to be here? This is the HyundaiNVirtualCup. It is the place to be at the moment, especially if you are an Assetto Corsa sim racer. So 10-minute qualifying, 15-minute heat coming up. We had a little bit of a dominance performance from Maximilian in the last heat, Kieran. Are we expecting something similar from one of the guys? Obviously it's difficult to pick who, but will we have a dominant performance?
Yeah, I think when we get into sort of the Group B, if you like, the prelim Group B, I think they might have watched on Group A and seen what sort of action happened in the last race, which you'll get to see some highlights now. Too early to say, I'm going to say, Evan.
Yeah, here's a quick highlights package from that first heat, and of course, first corner, Maximilian Benecke got through it, never looked back. This is the number 18, you can see heading through the final couple of corners, and this is Pavel Kreslok, who dove down the inside, so that's what happened to Pavel. We were wondering why he pulled over to the left-hand side, maybe picked up a little bit of damage there, down towards the first corner. There was a lot of ducking and diving in the opening couple of laps, and there you can see a little bit of a half slide for the number 21. Further up the front then, little bit of push to passing, but rubbing is racing, as they like to say here in the United States, Kieran. Things got close out on circuit, but that is also the nature of this track.
Yeah, that was McFarlane and Ratage, who were battling side by side, then door to door, and in doing so, that allowed the number 19, Maximilian Röhrig, to try and fancy his chances of moving up the order, and we did. There we go. It was technically 3 wide for a brief moment there in that last race, so we did get a 3 wide moment here at Laguna Seca in the HyundaiNVirtualCup, and there was a lot of battling to go. Just outside of the top 10, you see Ross McFarlane losing that back end, then even more so in the background there was Petrovsky, I think that was the number 69, who managed to keep it all under wraps, but passing happened here, there and everywhere, with Ross McFarlane looking for a move up the inside of Omike Maragnon. A little bit of contact between them. McFarlane did get the position though.
Yeah, Ross McFarlane getting the spot on that occasion, and you can see rejoins, saves. It really was an action-packed first 15 minutes. That is, of course, the 0.8 of Alessandro Ottaviani, the slowest qualifier. We say slowest qualifier; he's not slow. He just happened to finish 10th on that occasion. Side by side, once again into the Andretti hairpin. We didn't get to see a dive into the corkscrew, Kieran, so I'm kind of hoping for that in Prelim B.
Yeah, we've got Prelim B. We've also got a couple more races to see that as well over the course. But yeah, a nice pass then from Kamil Pawlowski to make his way through. Got a better run out of turn 4 there. That led him up a position. And Ross McFarlane really was a hard charger in this race, wasn't he? Trying to now find his way past Maximilian Röhrig. Would we see this too wide moment then in towards the corkscrew? Maybe we already had it. Oh, that's Röhrig who lost the back end there. Seemed like the rear seemed to lock up and he had to mash the throttle there. But it looked like, Evan, there was no stopping Maximilian Beneco today.
No. Absolutely no stopping him in that first prelim. We'll see, can anyone stop him around Monza, but certainly he has Laguna Seca in his back pocket, and a job well done by the number 71. It was the Myers boys who were quickest in that one, Kieran. We have a nice little mix of teams once again in the second heat. Will we see a little bit of teamwork potentially? We didn't see it between those two because they were kind of spread away from each other, but it's an interesting talking point.
It is, and I fully understand that talking point, but this is a driver-only championship, so in that sense, it's every driver for themselves. You may have that early sort of team camaraderie, but that can be strained in a driver-only championship. There's nothing on the line for teams, so in essence, the driver's going to put themselves first, so you kind of do have to put yourself first in that scenario, but these are professionals, you know, they're here on their pace, they've got plenty of teams behind them. This is a scenario that's not going to be new to them. They're going to have to be in a situation like this before, where they have to put themselves first ahead of the team, and this is one of those scenarios. Only they can win it, not their team they're part of.
Well, let's see what they can do then. Let's head into qualifying for the second prelim. This is Prelim B, of course, and we have 6 minutes remaining in it. Currently top of the order is Dominik Blair, the Polish man, representing Williams Esports. He is the quickest of the order by 0.3 of a second over Nikodem Sobczak in second spot, and then in third place is the German of Nils Najax, who you may recognise. A popular YouTuber is Nils, of course, well over 30,000 subscribers, and he is a man popular amongst the sim racing community. Currently, we're looking at Gregor Schill heading down the corkscrew. Beautiful, beautiful scheme on that car, I must say.
Absolutely. In the Eurosud, my German is about as good as my Portuguese, I'm afraid, in the fact that it's absolutely terrible. So hopefully I got that spot on then. But Schill making his way through in towards the final corner, currently 6th fastest in this qualifying session as he gets the power down and unleashes 350 brake horsepower underneath him as he makes his way up towards the line then. Where will he go then? Well, Sobczak, meanwhile, goes quickest now on a 27.5, and those gaps are really making their way slowly down as the session goes on. So Nikodem Sobczak then makes his way to provisional pole position by 1/100th of a second.
Yes, very close indeed. There was an improvement from Tinko van der Velde as well. This is Luke Whitehead, who you can see heading through the final corner, the Veloce Esports racer in the number 55. The impressive feat for Luke coming into this one is the fact he ran in the LFM 24 Hours of the Nordschleife. And you might be thinking, well, there were so many drivers doing that. He did the entire race on his own. 24 hours of straight driving, Luke Whitehead did, and didn't even look phased after it, might I add. But yeah, a 15-minute heat is going to be pretty much nothing for him.
Yeah, I expect nothing less from Luke Whitehead. You know, he is a consistent driver, and I've watched him over the past couple of years. He's got quicker, more consistent, and yeah, when he's at the front of the field, he very, very rarely puts a foot wrong. He's currently 9th fastest in qualifying right now. There is an absolute, it just shows you how much of a stacked grid it is. You see a driver, you think you've got so much heritage behind you, so much prestige behind the name. And yeah, these times are very, very close as we head into the final stages of qualifying. Just under 4 minutes to go then, as we see Dominic Player of Williams Esports make his way around the final corner. Kieran Harrison, meanwhile, moves to third fastest, 0.03 of a second shy of the provisional pole position time. Is this going to be an improvement for Player? Yes, it is. It's about 1/10 of a second improvement, maybe just under, but it now puts him at the top of the pile.
Yes, once again, pipping Dominic Player. You're now looking at Kieran Harrison, another one of the British drivers here in the Sim RC in the number 93. If you're a fan of AMX Global, you'll know his name. And Kieran Harrison has been one to win many a race there. And Harrison, currently third in qualifying. You can see him there on your picture-in-picture. I just always love how concentrated these guys are. There's never a moment where they wave for the camera. There's never really a smile or anything, despite how good the lap might be. It's just laser focus at all times.
There'll be a couple. There's a handful of drivers, maybe not here tonight, but there will be a handful of drivers who'll notice they're on the big screen and give a wave. And if you're watching,
I'm sure if they win an all-inclusive trip to Korea, there will be at least one smiling.
Has to be. But yes, Kieran Harrison making his way. I think now we're just backing off that final lap to get a little bit of space out on track. There is Tinko van der Velde in the number 66, racing in the Williams Esports livery then, as he makes his way up the Rahal straight and making his way now towards turn 7 and then turns 8A. 8 and 8A through in towards the corkscrew. We go, what a fantastic section of track that is. It really does test not only the driver's ability, but how in tune with the car are you? How much can you see that the car is going to respond through the corkscrew? The Elantra N TC is quite a balanced car, in fact, but even it will have its limits, and you've got to make sure you don't push them and don't exceed them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of racing facility, and it's been a prominent feature of Laguna Seca's history since the track was first built in 1957 at a total cost of $15 million that was all raised by local business and by a local US Army base, and that is what has formed the brilliant racing circuit that we see here today. Here's Gael Valero rounding through one of the corners on this track. Currently in 9th behind Gregor Schill. Gael Valero will like to be a little bit higher up in the order, but remember, top 10 will qualify for the main race this evening. He's now been pushed down to 10th as Mr. 24-hour Luke Whitehead has just improved to 7th.
Yep, and moves himself now onto the 4th row of the grid and finds himself 3/1000th of a second shy, or just ahead of Naldi, who's currently 8th fastest, Matteo Naldi, for BF Racing. And Valero then makes his way through in towards the final corner. Gael makes his way out of that final corner, power down then, and with only a handful of seconds left on the clock, Valero will get one more chance. If Valero wants one more chance to improve the lap time, and I think looking at that one, no improvement on that last lap, so Valero gets one more shot to try and make his way up the order.
Yep, currently in 4th, who we're looking at, this is Rafał Szotaszek, and you can see him improving, or did he improve? He did not in the number 48. One man who did improve, though, that is Code Polsid, Dominic Player, who has just improved his margin, now leads by over 1/10 of a second over Nikodem, and a very good lap from the two Polishmen. It was an all-German front row in the first prelim. It's an all-Polish front row here in the second prelim. If this was a Nations Cup, I think we know who the battle would be between.
Enlighten me. No, I'm kidding. No, it would be really nice, but it's a driver-only affair, of course, as the checkered flag is dropped then, and up to 9th place, Alexandre Lay, up into the top 10 now, so nice lap time from the end there from Alexandre in the 92 to get up the order and into the 5th row of the grid then, as we watch on then for Nayox as he makes his way, Niles Nayox now through in towards turn 5, as we get the power back down and make his way up that short straight up towards turn 6. It is Blair who's still at the top of the standings right now. Kieran Harrison has crossed the line, still 3rd fastest at this stage.
Yes, and Nils Nayox looking to just improve. currently in 5th, which is a decent starting position, but if you want to win a race here around Laguna Seca, oh, that's one way to try and improve, sliding through the first part of the famous corner. Nils Nijaks giving it absolutely everything in the number 90, trying to put on a little bit of an exhibition for us here watching this HyundaiN Virtual Cup. And Nils Nijaks in towards the final corner now in the very vibrant looking Hyundai Elantra, I should say. Nijaks, we'll see if he can improve. I wouldn't imagine so after a couple of slides in that final sector, but we'll see if he can surprise us. No, it will be 5th place for Nils. So it's going to be Dominic Blair, who is on pole position and picks up those points.
All important points, they will matter, and of course points mean prizes in the long run, don't they? So yeah, Dominic Blair will be very happy with that one. And of course, Dominic gets the first run down towards the line, so long as he gets the start absolutely right. And that is, of course, you've done the hard work of getting that grid position. Now you've got to make sure you have the run down towards the Andretti hairpin. Make sure you make that to good use. We've seen a couple of side-by-side actions through and towards the Andretti hairpin. You have to watch out for drivers who try and loop their way around the outside of you, because they're really trying to get the inside of turns 3 and 4. So definitely watch out for that one as we have our qualifying grid ready.
Yes, it is, of course, Dominic Blair who is on pole position. Second position goes to Nikodem Sobczak. Kieran Harrison will start in 3rd with Rafał Szotaszek in 4th. In 5th place is Nils Nijaks, and then it will be Gregor Schill who starts in 6th. Ingo van der Velde will start in 7th ahead of Luke Whitehead in 8th spot. Then it will be Matteo Naldi who starts in 9th ahead of Alexandre Le in 10th spot. Then it will be Florian Haas in 11th ahead of Gael Valero in 12th, an all-French row. No, apologies, not an all-French row. Haas from Bochum in Germany. Then in 13th place it will be Forns ahead of Camera. Then it is Radotonski ahead of Rio Lordella, I should say. Then rounding out the final order is Erhan Yachowski ahead of Yato Humpi, and then rounding us out in the order for the second prelim it is Dominic Ullmann. So an interesting qualifying order there, Kieran, and bodes nicely for a good race.
Yeah, and really impressed with how close the gaps were together. At one point in that qualifying session, the top 15 separated by about 8.5 tenths of a second, which you blink about 3 or 4 times, and that covers our top 16. So that just shows you how close it is in the order. And as we've said before, you've got the qualifying pace down to a T now. Now it takes over your racecraft. You're good behind the wheel, you're quick behind the wheel, but if you're further down the order, now's the test to get up into that top 10 and book your spot into the main race at Monza later tonight.
Yes, that is the goal for all these drivers, is to get into that main race. And speaking of the main race, the top 10 from the first Prelim A have been confirmed as those advancing. But we're straight into action here in Laguna Seca as we go racing for the second time in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. Great start from the pole sitter down towards the first corner. It is going to be Dominic Blair who leads. Second place looking to challenge a second and third side by side. Nikodem Sobczak looking to defend from Kieran Harrison, who's going to try the audacious move around the outside. No joy there for Harrison. He's now put himself under pressure from the 4th place man. You can see Nils Nijaks looking for a move, battling with Tinko van der Velde. This has been an action-packed start.
Yeah, Nikodem Sobczak got a great start. Up to 2nd place now is Sobczak. So really good running there right now as Rafał Szotaszek runs in 4th place right now. Right behind the 93 there of Kieran Harrison as we make our way through now in towards turn 5. On the short run now towards turn 6 is Gregor Schill right behind there. I think that's in 5th place at the moment. Heading our way through in towards turn 6 and up the Rahal straight as Rafał Szotaszek tries to hold off the attack of Gregor Schill. Heading our way through in towards the corner 2. Will we see a side-by-side moment on the very first lap of the prelim race B? We'll keep an eye on it for a short while. We do see some side-by-side action, but as drivers try to filter their way through the corkscrew, we're watching on then with that number 48 machine of Szotaszek trying to find his way back through the pack.
Yes, race leader on the opening lap is going to be the pole sitter once again of Dominic Blair, and he is the man currently on top here in Prelim B, but still very close at the front of the order, as you can imagine, but a very solid first lap, similar to what we saw from Maximilian Benecke in the earlier heats. But it is Blyer ahead of Sobczak in second, Kieran Harrison in third. Then it is Rafał Chotaszek in fourth, ahead of Gregor Schill in fifth. And it's Luke Whitehead, Tinko van der Velde, Gael Valero, Greg Raystart. Nils Nijhoek's actually dropping down the order. He's now down to 9th spot, just ahead of Arthur Camara in 10th position. Then it is Florian Hasse in 11th, ahead of Alexander Leo in 12th. And it is Naldi ahead of Forns, Rio Leodella. And then rounding us out the order is Jakub Radokonski.
Rio Leodella trying to find the way, find the rhythm in this race, currently 15th place and within a few tenths of a second of Fornes up ahead, as we watch on then with Luke Whitehead currently 6th place then, and Tinko van der Velde is right behind them. These two have a good history between each other, very quick out on track. They've been competing with each other for a couple of years now in various organisations and series along the way. They're very, very good friends off it, but good rivals on it.
Yeah, you got to have that little bit of friendly competition. It certainly gives us an entertaining race here in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. Luke Whitehead rounding and looking to try and attack Gregor Schill. Veloce Esports versus BS Competition here. And it's going to be a good little scrap, I think, and one to keep an eye on. Second lap under our belts then, it is still Dominic Player who leads as we ride on board in the Hyundai Elantra of Luke Whitehead.
Yeah, looking for a moves down the inside, and I think we're actually on board with Florian Hasse, because this is 11th place
the
now.
Camera sold the dream.
Yes, it did there, but there is Florian Hasse then right behind Camera in a spot for that top 10. That's such an important position at this stage of the competition. We have just under 11 and a half minutes left of this race, and for Florian Hasse, he needs to try and find a way past Arthur Camara in the number 85 ahead of him, but right behind he's got Alexandre Lay as we head our way through in towards turn 5. The heat will be turning up towards the end of this race, of course, for a spot in the top 10. Of course, our top 10 progress to our main race, our feature race at Monza, and you have to be in that top 10 to give yourself the chance.
Florian Hasse, the Cupras 2021 sim racing champion, currently attacking Arthur Kammerer, a fellow German driver, and Arthur from Munich, Florian from Bochum. It's like a Bundesliga fixture here in Laguna Seca, but a very decent scrap indeed. Up the front, the gap did extend over a second for a brief amount of time, but Nikodem Sobczak has put in a mighty final sector, and he is catching up to his fellow countrymen.
Yeah, it's about a second between them when they made their way across the line. Kieran Harrison in 3rd place then, and it's Sobczak in 4th place. And then it's a little bit of a gap between them before we get Gregor Schill. And by saying a bit of a gap, it's about 1.5 seconds. So if we're talking about that's a bit of a gap at this stage, I fear to know what it was sort of the chasm we're expecting of maybe 3 or 4 seconds further down the line.
As we take a look on board with Gregor Schill, looking back at Luke Whitehead in the battle for 5th. The battle for 5th has been an entertaining one so far this evening, and in both preliminary heats. Remember, folks, we have a longer main race coming up after in Monza, and that will decide the winner for this evening. I know I've mentioned this a few times, but just look how focused these two are. I don't think Gregor Schill's head has actually moved since we've gone on camera with him.
That's sort of eye movement as well. Drivers are always looking towards not even the apex they're in, they're looking at the next apex to try and position the car absolutely spot on. And there's great picture-in-picture we've got here. We've got Gregor Schill in the bigger driver picture, and then you've got the opponent camera of Luke Whitehead behind. And as you said, steely, determined looks here to try and find the gaps and the pace they need to try and get themselves up the order. Gregor Schill here might be a little bit of a cork in the bottle, but he won't care, because right now he's booking his spot into the feature race at Monza.
Luke Whitehead honestly looked like he was battling G-force down the corkscrew there. That's just the movement these drivers get in their sim racing equipment, they're racing wheels. The force feedback and direct drive that most of these guys have would be very fierce. And now we get to see a little bit of a side-by-side battle, and there's a nudge between the two. This is Florian Hasse, who is trying to make the move on Arthur Kammerer, and I believe he has made the move on Kammerer. And there was a nudge between the two. There was a nudge between the 67 and the 85. Thankfully, it has not come to a horrible conclusion, and they're both still in the running. But this is such an important battle, because as it stands, one of these guys will be making their way to Monza, the other will not.
I have a feeling Arthur Kammerer will not get that, let that go lightly here. Through in towards turn 5 we go. Oh, sorry, this is turn 6 now as we head up the Rahal straight. Kammerer here will be looking to try and get that position back as soon as he can. Heading our way through now in towards the corkscrew. Knows this isn't the overtaking opportunity he's looking for. But look at that, 5 cars in this battle for 10th place. 4 of them chasing down the 10th place driver in Florian Hasse as we make our way through in towards the final couple of corners. Through turn 10 and onwards then towards turn 11, as it looks like Luke Whitehead has got ahead of Gregor Schill. Gregor Schill's lost a couple of positions there as makes his way. Was that him just spun at the final corner, just trying to rejoin? Yes, it was. Gregor Schill in trouble, might fall us outside of the top 10 and has.
Yes, problems for the BS competition driver and the driver for BMW Motorsport, and he's gone, he's out. So Gregor Schill will play no further part in this prelim B, and he will play no further part in Monza either. The man who was looking composed, defending from Luke Whitehead, has had it stripped away from him in a matter of moments, and that is utterly disappointing for Gregor. He's going to be kicking himself if that was his own mistake that caused that.
Yeah, we didn't quite see what happened there. What we know is that he found himself a bit of awry at the final corner. What this does, though, is relieve the pressure very slightly on Florian Hasse. It allows Kammerer to get himself up into the top 10, Arthur Kammerer in the 85. But now, all of a sudden, Arthur Kammerer here has gone from the attacker to the defender, because here's Alexandre Lay, who's looking for a move down the inside at the corkscrew. Florian Hasse tries to close the door. There's contact there between Kammerer and Lay. Lay just about gets through, squeezes through at the corkscrew. And talk about a corkscrew moment. That was a corkscrew overtake. It was just getting a bottleneck at that point. Lay made the move stick, though. Bit of contact, but that was a rear contact from Kammerer onto Lay.
Contact into the corkscrew usually means a bad conclusion, but thankfully this time for Alexandre Lay and Arthur Kammerer, they can continue on, or can they? Because Alexandre Lay is dropping down the order, and he's down to 30, which is out of the top 10. Disappointing for Lay.
Yeah, and looking down the inside now of camera is Naldi here as we make our way through. The number 10, Matteo Naldi, trying to find a way through, but in doing so might have just opened up that door to Fornes then as we make our way through in towards turn 3. Fornes trying to find the power, find a way through. The number 56 trying to find out a move around the outside. Ivan Fornes still just on the back of Naldi here, not letting him rest, and in doing so, it's allowing Arthur Kammerer to just try and get up the road here. Alexandre Lay now down the inside in the number 92 as we ride on board then with Rio Yordea, I believe now, who's watching on for all the madness in this battle for not even a place in the top 10 right now.
Yes, Albert Rio Lodea racing for the ELS esports team, and you can see him trying to make the move on Ivan Fornes in front, and Fornes making a little bit of contact there with Alexandre Lay. And Alexander honestly has been in the wars this race so far. There's 4 minutes and 45 seconds left to go in this one. Come the end of it, I think half of his Elantra could be on the racing surface here in Laguna Seca. He's been nudged, he's been tipped, he's been bumped, he's been banged, and he's looking to just survive almost until the end of this one. In the background of Rio Leodea's camera, you can see Radan Jonsky looking for the move just in the rear view mirror at the top of your screen. It's a menacing look from Radan Jonsky behind in the black Elantra. He looks like he means business.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, Jakub Radochonsky for the NKS SMR freelancers, trying to find a way through for a place in that 15th place. And Rio Yordeya and Radachonsky have been, well, pretty much match for pace over this, I was going to say weekend, but over the last hour or so, they have been match for pace. It's the case of Rio Yordeya will want to finish ahead of Radachonsky. Alexandre Lay then making his way through in towards turn 5 as we make our way up the short run towards turn 6, has slightly lost touch with Naldi then, Matteo Naldi managing to get a little bit of breathing space, which in turn might allow him in the final 3.5 minutes to see if he can catch Arthur Camara and try and book that spot to Monza.
Yes, Matteo Naldi racing for BF Racing, and the Frenchman would like to catch Camara in front and just try and make an impression in the final few minutes of this heat. He's got nothing to lose at this point. He's in probably the worst place to finish in this race, which is 11th, because you were just one position away from advancing to the main heat. So Naldi is going to give it a load of gusto. That is Alexander Lay, who is looking like he's going to lose the position to Ivan Forns. And Alexander, it's not been a great second half to the race for him. The 92 falls to 13th.
Yeah, Lay again has been in the walls, but look at this, look round the outside for Alexandre Lay to try and get that position back. We ride on board, no way past Fornes then as we make our way out of the Andretti hairpin 2 in towards turn 3 we go. And yeah, Lay was just had, I think he did have a gap at the top there, or at least within the top 10 for the briefest of moments before it all started to unravel very slightly. Currently in 13th place though with 2 minutes 20 on the board. If Alexandre Lay has been nothing, if nothing, he's been very punchy, very racy tonight.
He's been entertaining. He's given us some entertainment. You can see there just on the last few laps, it's been a mixed bag, as that's a problem for Ivan Forns. And now Lay is going to have to battle once again into the corkscrew. It is the Frenchman on the inside. It is the Spaniard on the outside, and they bump across the corkscrew. And Leu is bumped past by Ivan Forns. And now you can see Albert Rio Yordeya looking for the spot. He won't make it stick. Somehow we come out of the corner the same way we went in.
Yeah, in all of that, absolutely. Well, Radachonsky has got past Rio Yordeya then for 14th place in that madness then. So Radachonsky goes from that menacing Elantra in the mirrors to now ahead of Rio Yordeya as we make our way through in towards, I believe, what could be the final lap of the race. Tinko van der Velde is up into 5th place then with Sobchik, who's now down to 6th place in these closing stages. So maybe a bit of an issue there for Sobchik. Nikodem Sobchik, who I believe was running within the top 3, now down to 6th.
Yeah, and it's all real bunched up in this mid-pack battle, so Nikodem has got to be careful not to lose any more spots here. But it is dominance out front from Dominic Lair, and then Kieran Harrison in second. Nikodem Sobchak was in that battle for the race win, of course, but he has now fallen behind Tinko van der Velde and in 6th position. And you can just see a little bit wide there from Tinko. He doesn't want to make an error now. This would be a disastrous time to make a mistake, because you don't really have any time to come back from it. 30 seconds to go, and this all depends on the pace of Dominic Blair, whether we get one more lap or not. On board with Nils Nijux now in 8th spot. He has Florian Hasse right behind him, and it is Arthur Camara in that golden 10 position. Ready for the final corner. I think we might get just one more lap into the disappointment of potentially Arthur Camara, as yes, there is Dominic Blair leading us around for one more trip.
Indeed he is, as Nils Nijux then 8th place right now. Knows at this point there's a place booked to Monza, but again, like I said in the preliminary race A, these drivers will not listen to you. If you say you've got your top 10 place, just bring it home. They will race. Valero is trying to prove that then, as he looks to try and get one more position ahead of Nikodem Sobchik then for 6th place. But in a race here where Dominic Blair just needed the pace, just needed to break away from the rest of the pack, has done exactly that, did what he needed to do as Gael Valero. 7th place we see here, as that is Nijux then up the inside, diving his way through in towards turn 5. Made that look so easy. He had to be so late on the brakes then, but Nils Nijux then up into 7th place.
Yeah, I don't think Gael Valero is gonna race him too hard. He's gonna be disappointed with his performance potentially in this heat anyways, so he doesn't want to ruin that altogether by not finishing in the top 10. But pole to victory will be the order of the day once again here in Prelim B, as it was earlier on in Prelim A. This time it is the Polishman of Dominic Blyer who rounds for the final corner for Williams Esports. He will take the win and heads to Monza in fine form. A thumbs up to camera, a brief celebration, not unleashing too much emotion just yet, but a fabulous win nonetheless. Kieran Harrison comes home in second. In third place it is Rafael Schodaszek ahead of Luke Whitehead in fourth.
Yeah, really good race to kick off as well this season. It's been brilliant so far. We see some brilliant side-by-side action as well. And there is Rafael Schodaszek, who managed to get up into the top 3 at the end of that race. But yeah, there was no stopping Dominic Blyer this time around, winner by 2.5 seconds.
Yes, it is Dominic Blyer who takes the race victory by 2.5 seconds over Kieran Harrison in second, and it is Rafael Schodaszek in third, Luke Whitehead in fourth, and Tinko van der Velde in fifth, and it is Nikodem Sobczak in sixth ahead of Nils Nijax in seventh. Gael Valero comes home in eighth ahead of Florian Haase in ninth, and then Arthur Kammerer will advance to Monza in 10th position. Matteo Naldi, unfortunately, in 11th, just 0.4 of a second behind Kammerer. Ivan Forns will come home in 12th. Alexander Leyer in 13th, ahead of Jakub Radojonski in 14th. And then the final finisher of this one was Albert Rio Leodea.
Yeah, really good way to end off the prelims there, and really enjoyed watching on the battling there. As we said before, it's all about making sure you've got the racecraft with you, and there was one driver who I was sort of hoping maybe could have got into that top 10 there, Alexandre Lay, who for the briefest of brief moments got into the top 10, but unfortunately then it started to unravel from there. But I mean, you can't fault Alexandre's performance. He was racy, he was punchy. You knew he wanted to get into that top 10, just not his night tonight.
No, and of course he will have one more attempt on race 2, which is coming up on Saturday night, and that is going to be a big opportunity for Alexander to try and pick up some points. But we now have the grid decided for the main race coming up in Monza, Kieran, and I tell you what, it's even closer than the 2 prelims are going to be.
Yes, it is, and basically we've got the top 10 from each, haven't we? In essence, so it's going to be very much a closer affair. If I thought the qualifying gaps in Prelim B were close, the top 16 separated by about 0.8 of a second, I have a feeling that I'm going to see something slightly different at Monza. It's going to be great to watch then. But of course, Monza, totally different circuit to Laguna Seca. We'll move on to that, I'm sure, in a few moments, but I'm thoroughly looking forward to it, and I'm sure our drivers are very much looking forward to turn 1 lap 1 at the Rettifilio chicane.
Yeah, they've already been expressing their delight in the Discord server before the race. It's always a brilliant occasion. While we have you here, folks, we'd like to take the opportunity to ask you to pop a subscription on the HyundaiNVirtualCup YouTube channel and support us here in the series. As Kieran said, Monza, very different to Laguna Seca. That means we got to give the drivers time to warm up. We're going to give myself and Kieran a little bit of time to cool down as well. We're going to take a brief break, folks, but do not go anywhere. We'll have the main race of the first evening of European Regional Qualification coming up soon here in the HyundaiNVirtualCup. Well, we've had the preliminaries. It is time for the main event. It is the first main race here in the European Regional Qualifiers of the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. And we had two cracking races in Laguna Seca. It's time for one big one here in Monza. It's a pleasure to have you back with us, folks. And this is going to be good. It is myself, Evan Dolphin, still here with Kieran McGinley alongside me. And Kieran, we've had some good entertainment, but I think it's going to get better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've got the top 10 from each of those races. We've now been filed in as, the stewards have had their final say on any penalties and such alike. So we've now narrowed it down to our 20 drivers. This is where the point scoring starts to get real. And Monza holds the baton for this one. Yeah, turn one, lap one, as I said earlier on tonight, is going to be pretty interesting, but the drivers don't have to worry about that now. Ahead of them is a qualifying session to try and mitigate that little bit of potential chaos that could happen down at turns 1 and 2.
Yes, you want the best starting position down at the first corner. We will have a 10-minute qualifying, of course, to decide those grid positions. It is the 5.793 kilometre Italian Grand Prix circuit here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's run you through a little bit of housekeeping before we get to it. We're racing, of course, here on the Assetto Corsa platform in the Hyundai Elantra N TC. Total prize pool over $100,000. Yes, you heard me correctly. We're in the regional qualification stage where we have the top 40 from each region racing from November 20th to December 1st. We will then head to the regional semi-finals for the top 20 from each region, and the top 5 from each region will be heading to Seoul, South Korea for the world final on January 11th. The European Regional Qualification then takes place, of course, tonight and on November 23rd. US Regional Qualification on November 21st and November 24th. And then we hand it over to Korea, November 27th and November 30th. And finally, it is to China for 2 race days on November 28th and December 1st. The format then for tonight's races, of course, we had the prelim races earlier on in Laguna Seca. Now we have the main races, and the format for this is as follows: a 10-minute qualifying session and then a 25-minute main race. Longer, and very much so more important. With the point system for this, of course, it is 25 for the win, 20 for second, 16 for third, 13 for fourth, and then 11 for fifth. It's then 10 for sixth, 9 for seventh, 8 for eighth, 7 for ninth, and 6th for 10th position. Within a 5 for 11th, 4 for 12th, 3 for 13th, 2 for 14th, and then finally 1 point if you finish in 15th. No further points down the order for finishing positions. However, we do have further points for the fastest lap, which is 2 points, and then 3 points if you're able to take pole position. Of course, Maximilian Benecke and Dominic Blair taking 2 or 3 extra points each, I should say, their 2 pole positions. And of course, you got to drive around a track to take pole position. Let's hear a little bit more about that circuit with Kieran McGinley.
Yes, Monza, the Temple of Speed. Don't be surprised if you see nearly or close to 3/4 of the lap at full throttle. 5.793 kilometres with only 11 turns, and to say only would be doing it a disservice. It's quite a sweeping circuit in that sense, with very much low speed corners. We're talking about the first corner, the Rettifilio chicane, and of course the Roger chicane, which takes place at turns 4 and 5, which is just past Curva Grande of turn 3. And of course you have the Lesmos bringing you on towards the Ascari chicane and in towards the Parabolica. That long right hand at the 11th corner of the circuit, which takes you then back onto the start-finish straight, which its first history was pretty much straight after the First World War, and we first went racing here all the way back in 1922. And in the over 100 years of history of Monza, one thing has never changed: the mantra of top speed is king. And to do that, we've got to have some cars to match that. We will be driving, of course, in the Elantra N TC. 350 brake horsepower underneath, with a top speed of about 248 kilometers per hour, with 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds. This car made its debut in 2021, winning its class at the Nürburgring 24 hours. Since then, it's been a 3-time winner at the Nürburgring, a WTCR driver and team champion in 2022, and a TCR World Tour driver champion in 2023. And with that balance between that performance and precision that Hyundai and the N brand have really tried to build together, it's no surprise to see how much of a dominant field it has been in motorsport, and the drivers will get to experience that on the Temple of Speed. Well, it's a 6-speed sequential gearbox, a 2-litre turbo engine underneath. Sounds like perfect conditions to take this car to what is an absolute cathedral of top speed.
Yes, it is going to be a beauty, and let's see how it performs in qualifying. We're going to head over now to see how the drivers are tracking and who will take the 3 points for pole position. 3 points that weren't taken earlier by Maximilian and Dominic. Apologies, folks. The 3 points only for qualifying here, and we have 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go for it, and a lot of weaving out on circuit, getting those tyres warm, which is crucial for a good qualifying lap. We saw the drivers, however, a lot more spaced out in Laguna Seca, Kieran, which I suppose puts emphasis on the need for a slipstream.
Yeah, the slipstream is going to be key here, making sure pretty much you're not at the front of the queue. Whoever is at the front of the queue might have drawn the short straw, the short proverbial straw there. Lots of tyre warming, especially by Luke Whitehead here, as we make our way onwards towards the final corner of the Parabolica. Of course, with these front-wheel drive cars, to make sure you warm up the rear tyres as well, you really have to be aggressive with the steering wheel and almost try to lock up and intentionally lose the rear end to make sure you do get some heat into those rear tyres. But riding on board then with Luke Whitehead, as he'll get a healthy bit of slipstream down the start-finish straight, which for now he doesn't decide to take. Now he will, down towards the Rettifilio chicane. And this might be a common theme in qualifying here, coming up to this race. What drivers have to remember, and like Whitehead has to do here, has to rely on the driver ahead to get the braking zone right. And that's considering Luke Whitehead's braking zone is the same as the car ahead. It might not be.
Yes, and of course you have to consider this, like there will be a split second in Luke's head where he goes, is he braking? Yes he is, and then brakes. That will cost you in lap time. That hesitation will cost you, but the benefit of the slipstream is just way greater than those hesitations, and that's why the drivers opt to sit right behind a fellow Elantra in front. No proper times on the board as of yet. We will get those on this trip round the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, and Luke Whitehead heading through the 2 Lesmo curves now and down towards turn number 5 on towards the back straight and under the old Monza banking. You can see these drivers running very wide off the circuit. The track limits rule for this evening is what the simulator tells us, so the drivers can extend if the simulator does let them do so. Luke Whitehead now heading under that old Monza banking, the famous Monza banking that ran up until almost the 70s, braking for the Ascari chicane, the Verante Ascari, and exiting out towards the final little straight before the Curva Parabolica, now called the Curva Alboreto, of course, named after the great Miguel Alboreto, but we'll always know it as Parabolica.
It'll always have 2 names, won't it? Alboreto. Oh, there's contact up ahead between 2 drivers heading in towards the final corner. That might not help Luke Whitehead too much. I think one of them involved might have been Maximilian Benecke in the 71 there. A bizarre one heading into the final corner.
Yes, of course, Benecke, the winner in the earlier prelim race, as that lap from Luke Whitehead hasn't actually come up on the board just yet, I believe, as he's crossing now. You can see currently quickest is Dominik Bleier, who is ahead of Nikodem Sobczak in second. So, the first and second from Prelim B, first and second here in the main race so far. Then it is our first Prelim A runner in the form of Daniel Lebront. Then it is Callum, who is behind him. But Dominic, adjusting well to the different circumstances.
Yeah, and pretty much a half of a field you have to try and race against that you haven't raced against tonight. Always an interesting one, but Dominic Blyer looking to pretty much pick up from where he left off in prelim race B as he makes his way out of the second Lesmo. There is Lerner then, as we make our way through in towards the Lesmos then. Moritz Lerner currently classified as 17th fastest at this moment in time, and there's not long left to get some lap times on the board here. It's a relatively longer lap for the Elantras here. We see Blyer with a 1 minute 56.3, so really you've got to be crossing that line. If you cross that line with fewer than 2 minutes on the clock, that's going to be your final lap. And I just love I love the tyre warming technique these drivers have for the Elantras. It's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a great demonstration of skill, isn't it? Because they're just flicking the car around and slamming on the brakes and putting it into unnatural positions to try and warm the tyres. Here's Nikodem Sobczak, the Polish Williams Esports Academy driver. He is racing for Nikos Racing in the number 7 here in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup, I should say. There is an improvement for Tinko van der Velde, who goes to 3rd position, so it's an all prelim B, 1st and 2nd rows as of now, as Rafał Szotczyk is able to improve to 4th. Here's Kamil Pawlowski. Is he going to be able to improve across the start-finish line? It's not looking so, but is still 0.3 of a second off. We were talking about close grids in Laguna Seca. Top 14, all separated by less than a second.
Good to see, and especially with the 1 minute 56 that we've seen on the board from Dominic Blyer, just shows you how close this field is going to be. And that's Daniel Lebrun then, who makes his way currently on the 3rd row of the grid, 5th fastest right now, and just over a 1/4 of a second shy of Dominic Blyer's lap time. That puts himself on pole position right now. It was Olivier who went up to 10th fastest and then went down to 11th with a new faster lap time, just over 6/10 off of provisional pole position. There's Patrick Holtzman, who's currently now on the 5th row of the grid in 9th place with the 1 minute 56.9. That last lap good enough for 9th fastest.
Yeah, and you may notice Matteo Naldi is in 14th place, and you may be wondering where that has come from. Well, in the prelim B race, we actually had a couple of penalties handed out, and there was one for Gael Valero, who received a penalty for an incident, but he was okay. He still qualified. However, Arthur Camara in the 85 received a penalty, and that dumped him out of the top 10, promoted Matteo Naldi into it. So that is why Naldi is down in 14th place and in to the main. But if you haven't started your lap right about now, it's unlikely we'll get to finish it. One who's just completed a lap. Nikodem Sobczak, quickest in the session.
Yeah, nice lap then from Sobczyk to go top of the timing sheets. 1 minute 56.15 from him. As a back end sliding out then for Holtzman, making his way through in towards the Ascari chicane and just trying to warm up those rear tyres. As there is Maximilian Maneke, who now grabs provisional pole position. 56.142, grabbing provisional pole by just about 2/100ths of a second.
Yes, and there goes Beneke to the top of the order. I imagine we're going to have one final last gasp attempt for Moritz Lerner to try go to the top of the order as well from a couple of other drivers, especially this one. This is Rafał Szotczyk in 6th position. He'd like to find a little bit of time and try and improve. Current fastest lap is a 1:56.5 from Rafał. He'd like to jump up the order just a tad. If you could get onto the first 2 rows, that would be ideal for Szotczyk. But it is Beneke who's currently on pole, and the job well done from him so far.
So far, so good. And it's a case of making sure that this is your first opportunity there to get those 3 points and make your way onwards and upwards to book a place in that top 5 eventually, because, into the top ranks eventually, to get yourself to represent the regional semi-finals, to just get your name in the book, get your name on the list. And this first race, this first qualifying session is just the place to do it. Here goes Dominic Blyer then making the way through in towards the final corner at Parabolica. Through in towards the final corner. The power goes down. Does he get a little bit of a tow perhaps from cars ahead? Dominic Blyer, no, heads straight back into the pits then. So Blyer will stay at least third fastest then, as we see Naujoks go up to 12th fastest, Florian Haas up to 15th fastest.
All across the board, Dominic Blyer heading to the pit lane will not be improving, of course, on his time. Nils Naujoks goes to 12th spot. As Kieran said, we have Sean Arnold go to 10th, so disappointing for Arnold, who had a great heat earlier on. There goes Moritz Lerner, who's up to 4th spot and will stay there. Improvements for Gael Valero, who jumps up to 4th. Big lap there from Valero in the dying embers of the qualifying session. The Frenchman qualifying better here in Monza than he did in Laguna Seca. And that will be that, folks. It is a familiar pole sitter. Maximilian Benet.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, and it looks like we'll just get that confirmed on the next screen, but if that's the case, he's picked up the first 3 points of the season, and they're going to be so important at this stage. And whilst we build up to the race, whilst we get that all confirmed, yeah, a brilliant lap then from Maximilian Benecke. Would you really have any doubts of that one? 200th of the last time we saw him. We'll see when we get to the grids later on how it all shape up. And yeah, Benecke is on pole position, so the first points of the Virtual Cup go the way of Benecke.
Yes, it is Maximilian Benecke who will start on pole position. Alongside him on the front row will be Nikodem Sobchak in 3rd. Then we do have Dominic Blyer, and in 4th, with a very impressive qualifying, is Tinko van der Velde. Then in 5th position is Gael Valero. In 6th will be Moritz Lerner. In 7th position then it is Rafael Shotacek ahead of Daniel Lebrun in 8th. 9th position then for Kieran Harrison. 10th goes to Kamil Pawlowski. In 11th, Sean Arnold. 12th then Patrick Holzman, ahead of Nils Naujoks in 13th. Then it is Jacques Livière in 14th, ahead of Florian Haase in 15th. Then it is Alessandro in 16th spot, Alessandro Ottaviani, who is ahead of Luke Whitehead. Then, of course, we have Matteo Naldi, and rounding off the top order, it is Samuel Liebert for RAG Esports in 19th position. So, Benecke, first 3 points of the campaign, Kieran, and crucially pole position here for the main race.
Yeah, exactly what he needed, and just looking through that order there, about 14, 15 drivers covered by a roughly 1 second, and this is the part where you really need to make sure you're at the top of the order. Not because you get clear track, not because you get, the clean air that you need to get away from the pack. If you're in the mid-pack, you're in sort of 10th to 11th to 12th place, and you're heading towards the Rettifilio chicane, it could be an interesting couple of seconds for you. Just make sure you get through that mess that there might be. We might all make it through, but as long as you're prepared for the trips and the hazards that could fall your way in towards the Rettifilio chicane, you get through that, that's half the battle.
Yes, overtake's going to be crucial here in this one, because these guys are fighting for points now. They're fighting for a potential place in the regional semi-finals. Points equal prizes. We have 25 minutes on the clock here in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup, and it is going to be Maximilian Benecke on pole position. The 29-year-old German racer, of course, won the championship in Porsche's ECCD 2024 championship, and a race winner as well in ESL R1. He's also raced in the F1 Esports Pro Series. It's quite a CV for Maximilian Benecke, and he will be looking to get the launch here and survive through the first corner. Nikodem Sobchak in 2nd for Nikos Racing, the Polishman driving for the William Esports Academy team. He was the 2023 Polish Racing Champion, and as well as picking up P3 in the VCO XLFM event for Williams. So it's a star-studded front row.
Isn't it just? I'm looking forward to this one. We shall see how it all plays out in the next few seconds, I'm sure.
Yes, we hear the engines roaring as they are getting ready to go. The anticipation has been building for this. The first points-giving race in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup here at one of Motorsport's most fabulous racing facilities. And the red lights have come on for the standing start. And we go racing here in Italy. It's a brilliant launch for Nikodem Sobchak off the first row. It's a good, decent launch for Maximilian Benecke as well. And as they're heading down towards the first corner, the Elantras are absolutely flying. braking. Keep an eye for the braking. This is ever so crucial and could make or break your race. Is Sobczak going to try dive it down the inside? He is. He's not going to be successful. There is a car gone round there. That's one of the Williams cars gone round, and they're all bunching together heading through the first chicane. But I believe Maximilian Benecke has survived.
Yeah, right at the top of the order then, the number 71 in position 1 right now. So there's Dominic Blyer. So that was number 66, Tinko van der Velde, who was in trouble at the Rettifilo chicane. So he's fallen further down the order. The top 3 is already trying to break away from the rest of the pack, with Dominic Blyer sitting right behind Nikodem Sobczak as we make our way through in towards the first Lesmo. Battle for 4th and 5th place. We're going 2, maybe even 3 wide in the background in the opening lap here at Monza.
Yes, this has been a hectic race start, more than Laguna Seca necessarily. It is Maximilian Benecke who leads ahead of Nikodem Sobczak and Dominic Blyer. So the 2 Polishmen are chasing the race leader. Further down the order, we'll get full confirmation of who has shuffled where, but we saw one of the Williams cars go off. That was Tinko van der Velde. You can see Daniel Lebront in 7th spot looking for a potential move in the number 87, and then just behind him, of course, you have the number 20 car just circling round. It's all very, very close and all very cagey in the middle of this race. That is, of course, Moritz Lerner in the number 20. Dominic Blyer, though, just in 3rd, and you can see the gap between himself and the car behind. So, the front 3 slightly getting away.
Slightly getting away, yeah, a little bit of an understatement, that one for sure. But as we watch on there's Moritz Lerner in the number 20 trying to get the way up the order, and that is someone into the pits there early on in this race. Lerner there in what I believe is 8th place, trying to make the way now down in towards the Rettifilo chicane for the 2nd time of asking.
Yes, they are, and there was problems for Nils Nyx on the first lap as he's dropped down the order. He's currently in 19th position, so a disaster for the Berlin racer. He is 10 seconds adrift. Your order now, as it pops up on screen, is Maximilian Benecke and Nikodem Sobczak in 2nd. Then it is Dominic Blyer in 3rd, and then it is Kamil Pawlowski who is in 4th. Daniel Lebront in 5th, Kieran Harrison 6th, Sean Arnold in 7th. He is ahead of Rafael Schotteschek in 8th, and it is Moritz Lerner in 9th, ahead of Florian Hasse in 10th. That's a very shuffled up top 10. We could see a lot of racing, and we are seeing racing now. Kieran Harrison looking for the move on Daniel Lebront.
Yeah, under the shadows of the trees then through in towards the Lesmos then, as Kieran Harrison trying to put the pressure on Lebront up ahead as we make our way out of the 2nd Lesmo on towards the Curva del Seraglio, as Pawlowski's done a really good job so far. 4th place for him right now, but look at this charging pack right behind. It's allowed the top 3 to break away from the rest of the pack. Watch out for as well for Moritz Lerner in the background trying to make some moves. Stick then up the inside of Soltisek through in towards the Ascari chicane, and does get the move stuck then. So Lerner now up into 8th place.
Yeah, good move from Moritz Lerner, a man with a lot of experience, real-world experience as well, racing for Raithier Engineering in the Le Mans Cup LMP2 Championship, as well as 3 ADAC GT Masters Esports Championships under his belt. He knows how to race. That's not a skill he doesn't possess. Is going to try and utilise that well tonight, but he does have Rafael Schotteschek right behind, looking for the move on Lerner in towards the first corner, the Varante del Rettifilo. Of course, we're currently heading down the Rettifilo Tribune, the main straight here at Monza, but it's more known now for its slipstream and its weaving, its overtaking, its potential shenanigans in qualifying. But that was one of the more simple moves down the straight. Lerner still ahead of Schotteschek.
Alessandro Ottaviani trying to find a way past Jacques Olivier for 14th place as well. Of course, those are your sort of last point scorers in the race. Tinko van der Velde still down in 18th place. He might have fallen into slightly more trouble during this race as well. So really unfortunate for Tinko van der Velde on the 2nd row of the grid, but now all the way down in 18th place and outside of the points. Remember, top 15 score points in this race, and there's 2 additional points for fastest lap of the race as well.
Yeah, very important to take that fastest lap. if you want those 2 extra points, especially if you are in maybe one of the lower points ranking places. Get a push lap in, pick up yourself 2 extra points. Maximilian Benecke picked up 2 extra points or 3 extra points I should say, in qualifying. Kieran Harrison rounding past your screen. He's in a battle with Daniel Lebrun and Sean Arnold. It is the 2 British racers chasing down Daniel Lebrun, the Polishman. You're in the battle for 5th spot.
Yeah, and Sean Arnold here is wanting to try and look to find a way past Kieran Harrison here as we make our way through in towards the final corner, the Parabolica. Kieran Harrison, meanwhile, has got a move done then on Lebrun as we make our way through in towards that final corner. Daniel Lebrun then in the 87, though, will have a healthy bit of slipstream as we make our way down the start-finish straight. Look how close Lebrun gets then. He moves to the left-hand side of the track then. He'll have the outside line then. You see Kieran Harrison actually look over to his left to check where Lebrun is as we make our way down in towards the braking zone, in towards the Retafilio chicane. Kieran Harrison has the inside line initially, but might have the outside line. Will probably be shown the outside line on the exit. Might get the better traction though out of that corner, and once again we're running side by side through the Curva Grande, a corner that seems to be built to go side by side. Don't rule out Sean Arnold to try and pick up the pieces here if he can get a nose down the inside.
Yes, let's have a look. Harrison and Lebrun still side by side. Who breaks the latest? Kieran Harrison does, and Sean Arnold as well as Harrison over the chicane, and there's contact made. That's compromised. Daniel Lebrun sneaking through is Sean. What a brilliant move from Sean Arnold. The Veloce eSports man bided his time nicely, let the other 2 drive into the scene of an accident, and he nips his way past. 5th spot for the Welshman.
I did say he might be there to try and pick up the pieces, and pick up the pieces he did. He's now up into 5th place and looks to try and drive away, but Kieran Harrison, as Daniel Lebrun did down the start-finish straight, has a very healthy dose of slipstream as we make our way upwards towards the Ascari chicane. Riding on board then with Daniel Lebrun, who's currently in 7th place as we make our way through the Ascari chicane. Onwards then as we make our way towards Parabolica. Maximilian Benecke is leading the way just up ahead, but it's not allowed to get anywhere clear from the likes of Sobchak and Blair. The fact that there's a healthy dose of slipstream at multiple points of this circuit ensures that Sobchak and Blair are able to stay behind. Meanwhile, Kieran Harrison still trying to apply the pressure to Sean Arnold. Daniel Lebrun now takes over that Arnold role of looking over and seeing if he can pick up the pieces. Don't rule out Moritz Lerner either, who's in 8th place just behind those pack.
Yes, Sean Arnold, Le Mans Virtual Championship winner. He's raced in multiple Forza Championships as well, and he's been put under pressure here in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. Kieran Harrison back down the inside. Arnold has the outside. That becomes the inside once again, remember. And the 62 gives the 93 a little bit of a shoulder. That invites Daniel Lebrun into play once again. Moritz Lerner as well is just lurking, and he's like a shark in the waters looking for this one. Round the outside goes Daniel Lebrun on Kieran Harrison. They're side by side through the Curva Grande once again. Remember, this is the chicane where it went wrong for these 2, and it allowed Sean Arnold to sneak through. Harrison, as you can see, just ahead of Daniel Lebrun on board with Moritz Lerner. There's no dramas this time round for him to capitalise on.
Not this time, but worth sticking around though. Moritz Lerner currently in 8th place, but you see how, we've seen how stacked this grid is. We've seen the pace on display here tonight in Europe. It just shows you that one slight mistake and you could lose 2, 3, maybe even 4 positions in a pack like this. We're looking backwards at Sean Arnold. This battle goes from 5th place. It's a battle for 5th place that involves all the way to 12th place in Valero. So it's a huge queue behind that if you get it wrong, you're going to lose a ton of time and positions.
Yes, and crucially, you lose points, which are a major thing in this regional qualification. If you want to advance to the regional semi-finals, you've got to pick up your points. We, in theory, only have 50 minutes of racing to decide who gets to these semi-finals. So, it's big. You've got to pick up your points when you can, and that's what Moritz Lerner knows. He is trying to make some moves ahead of Daniel Lebrun, and you can see there, you wouldn't know he's under pressure.
Not at all. Not at all. Coolest customer on the grid. Probably even cooler than you and I at the moment. But LeBron looking for a move on Kieran Harrison as we make our way down towards the Retafilio chicane. These two are going to be swapping positions, that's for sure, as Moritz Lerner looking to see what he can do in towards that first chicane then. It looks like LeBron has got ahead of Kieran Harrison on the exit of the first chicane as we make our way through the Curva Grande. And for Sean Arnold, he'll be wanting the likes of Daniel LeBron and Kieran Harrison to start battling away. It'll cost those two time whilst allowing Sean Arnold to try and break away. And the further you can get up the road, the less impactful you can be, having that air come off your car so that other drivers can pick up your toe. Speaking of at the front, Sobchak and Blair are battling away for second place, and they're in a sort of similar scenario. They don't really want to battle too hard. They don't want Maximilian Benecke to get too far up the road.
No, they don't. They can't afford him to pull any more than he already has, because 1.2 seconds, and one of these guys is going to start losing slipstream soon. Who will it be? Well, Dominic Blair wants it to be him, trying around the outside through Ascari. This is the bravest of the brave. That's a brilliant move from Dominic Blair. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Nikodem Sobchak will have to check himself heading down towards the Parabolica. Just recuperate and realign himself to go for another move.
Something tells me that Nikodem Sobchak wanted that move to happen as well, because I have a feeling you do get this sometimes, even though it's every driver for himself. I think Blair and Sobchak realise that they've got to work together in order to catch back up to Maximilian Benecke. As you've just said, if you lose the toe around Monza, if you lose that slipstream advantage, it costs you so much time. We'll see what Blair does as we make our way down in towards the Retafilio chicane. Will it be a move on the cards for Nikodem Sobchak, or will he be happy for now to follow in that slipstream? Pavlovsky right behind in fourth place as well. Slight race of his own at the moment for the man in fourth place, but he won't mind that too much. It's some still strong points on the board.
It is strong points on the board, and you don't have to go for broke just yet. We still have 12 minutes and 40 seconds on the board, and of course one race on Saturday evening to decide who gets to this regional semi-final. But it's not make or break just yet. Kieran Harrison, as you can see, side by side for the Curva Grande, a little scratch of the head. He's not too worried about the implications of the next corner just yet. And Harrison remains in 7th, still chasing Daniel LeBron. It's been a great scrap between these two.
It really has. They've been swapping positions left, right and centre. Sean Arnold has tried to break away from them as well. He's just about got away, but not entirely. He's still within that slipstream range. Daniel LeBron then still trying to hold off from Kieran Harrison. Moritz Lerner in 8th place. Luke Whitehead in 9th. Florian Haase rounding off our top 10 with Gael Valero in 11th place. We make our way now onwards towards Ascari. And will Kieran Harrison once again try and find a way through, find a way past LeBron? He's done it a handful of times before. Moritz Lerner following closely behind as well as we head away on towards Parabolica with 11.5 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, still a lot to be decided. However, the gap up the front between Maximilian Benecke and Dominic Blair is extending. It's now just crossed over the 2-second threshold for the first time here this evening. And Maximilian is definitely a driver with a lot of confidence now, for sure. And you can see Nikodem Sobchak looking to slipstream Blair down towards the first corner. He's not going to be able to make a move, still a tad far back. These two, Kieran, really need to work together, however, if they want to catch the leader.
Yeah, I thought they might have worked together, might have tried to work together, but perhaps that ship has sailed. Blair and Sobchak might have settled now into this battle for second place with just over 10 minutes left of the race to run. They sort of realised now that Maximilian Benecke might be slightly too far up there, and even if they do try and work together, there you can see your movers and shakers. Sean Arnold up 6 places from where he qualified, so pretty good start there. Luke Whitehead, remember, he started from P17. In my mind, he qualified quite out of position, but such was the how close the grid was, and he didn't really get a reflective time in. He's up into the top 10 now.
Yeah, he is, and comeback drives like that are what make and break this championship. You want to gain positions in the race if you have a poor qualifying. Qualifying only decides the grid. The big points are in the race, and Luke Whitehead knows that. He's got the head down, and he has carried on and got himself into 9th position. You can see Blyer has pulled a second on Mikadem Sobchak, so this has been a very poor lap for Sobchak.
Yeah, not the cleanest for him, but it might cost him that little bit of toe he was looking for and sort of needing to make sure he's able to keep up with Blyer as we make our way through in towards the final corner here, through in towards Parabolica. And Beneke will start another lap in the lead of this race, keeping an eye on battles up and down the field. Moritz Lerner and Luke Whitehead for 8th place, but they're still part of that train that's headed up right now by Sean Arnold. Daniel Lebrun has managed to just about reel in Sean Arnold in the last couple of laps. He's looking to see if he can latch onto that lovely slipstream here at Monza that can be so powerful. It's so integral to making sure you can get some moves there. Watch out in the background as well for Gael Valero, who will look to try and find a way past Soltysek as we make our way down in towards the first chicane. Soltysek has the feel to go defensive here, feels the need to go defensive as Gael Valero up the inside. It gets so tight in towards those first couple of corners. I think Valero might have got the move done. He was on the outside as we made our way in towards that corner. Right now in our standings, 11th place. Right now in our standings, leading by 1.2, Maximilian Beneke.
What a dominant drive this has just been from Beneke. Really a fabulous performance in both races, the Prelim A and here in the main race. Maximilian Beneke took pole position, got through the first corner, drove off into the sunset. The race isn't over by any stretch of the imagination. Dominic Blair is throwing everything at it, but this really is an impressive showing from Maximilian Beneke, and obviously we haven't got a taster of the other regions just yet, but you'd really put him as one of the favourites for the whole competition at this point.
I mean, yes, it's very early stages. We've only had the one feature race here in Europe so far. But yes, as an early contender, definitely one to watch as Alessandro Ottaviani trying to now find a way past Soltysek. Then Rafael Soltysek in the number 48. Battling away here for what is right now 11th place, because Gael Valero did get the move done then on Rafael Soltysek, and we make our way now onwards towards Parabolica with Alessandro Ottaviani looking to see what he can do in these what is now the closing stages. We're well past the halfway mark in allotted time for the race as we make our way through that final corner. Jack Olivier as well, not too far behind Ottaviani as well, and Tico van der Velde, who really is on a recovery drive at the moment, is currently within the points, but is not making the progress he feels, and I know he feels he needs to make, because he qualified this race on the second row.
Yeah, and when you get a good qualifying, you almost tell, oh, there's a sneaky move down the inside. That's a real sneaky move from Rafael Soltysek, but it's not worked out really for the better, because he didn't get the move on Gael Valero. 2, he actually lost the position to Alessandro Ottaviani. So the Italian here on home turf sneaking past, but now it's time for Rafael to try and avenge his errors down the inside of Alessandro Ottaviani, and you can see side by side at the apex as well, just behind. That's Jack Olivier, who's looking to get a taster of action, and the 26 is looking to overtake the car in front, and here we go, move into the Lesmos. Oh, it's 3 wide into the Lesmos. Oh my goodness me, Tinko van der Velde trying it round the outside. Can you believe that? Bravery, the highest order. He's not quite pulled it off just yet. Is he able to get it stick through Lesmo number 2? Still there side by side, utilising all of the track limits available. Van der Velde knows where the points are being paid out at. He wants to get in there.
Yeah, he really was up for it round the outside, door to door, going through in towards the first and second Lesmo, but it couldn't quite get any positions out of that brave move. It felt like it deserved a couple of positions there, but Van der Velde was held firm by all of those ahead of him, and Valero managing to get to the head of that train at the moment. Ottaviani in 12th place now. On board then with Moritz Lerner, following behind Kieran Harrison. 2 slightly different lines being taken through the final corner. And once again, Moritz Lerner will get into the slipstream then as we make our way down the start-finish straight. Just over 5 minutes left on the board. You see Moritz Lerner is closing and closing here on Kieran Harrison in this battle for 7th place. Will Lerner look for a move down the inside? He will, trying to move down the inside of the 93. Moritz Lerner, who's going to be later on the brakes. Lerner will have the inside line, and he'll have the racing line. He'll have whatever line he chooses through the second part of the Rettifido chicane, and that's Moritz Lerner up into 7th place.
Yeah, good move from Moritz Lerner. It was a clinical one, and he didn't fuss about. And the number 20 is up and ahead of Kieran Harrison in the number 93. So Moritz Lerner up to 7th. A little bit further back, this is this battle that has been raging on for quite some time. Tinko van der Velde was the man going for the brave move into the corner this time round. Is there going to be another one? This is between this is between Shotacek, and it is between Ottaviani and Naldi as well. You can see that is Moritz Lerner, who is on the camera on the right hand side, but the number 43 of Shotacek is the one circling around on the screen. No, sorry, that's number 48 going around on your screen, not the number 43, so ignore me.
Well, Tinko van der Velde has lost out a position there to Matteo Naldi. So in all that battling as well, you just have to keep your wits about you in those battles. But just in the background there, you can see that Williams Esports livery of Tinko van der Velde looking for a move down the inside in towards the Ascari chicane to try and take back 15th place, which he has done. Just got past Naldi then, as we make our way through a couple of drivers running a little bit wide out of the 10th corner of the track. As we make our way on towards the final corner, with just under 3.5 minutes left of the race to run. Then there we see the number 20. That is now Moritz Lerner and Kieran Harrison. We're getting a bit of deja vu here. This time, though, it's Kieran Harrison who will be on the attack then, down in towards the Rettifido chicane. A carbon copy. He's got the inside line. Can he get the later braking zone that Moritz Lerner got last time around? Lerner actually backed out of it, brakes earlier, because he might want the toe and the top speed advantage you get from following a car behind through the Curva Grande. Either way, Kieran Harrison now up into 7th.
Yes, you could hear the squeal of the brakes heading into the corner, and that is Kieran Harrison, who is ahead of Moritz Lerner for the time being. But can Moritz re-overtake him? Well, only time will tell. 2 minutes and 40 to go. We will have one more lap after this one. Potentially, we'll tell you closer to the time, as that's a horrid line through the chicane by Kieran Harrison, and Moritz Lerner is going to try dive it down the inside through the Lesmos, and Lerner is ahead. Harrison trying to fling it around the outside, has unbelievable grip on the outside of the corner, and he has pulled it off. Incredible move from Kieran Harrison to stay in front of Lerner. Lerner, again, I think there was a slight lift there to try stay behind in the slipstream, but Kieran Harrison, fair play.
Yeah, and I guess there's a bit of gamemanship and strategy at this point. Which position do you want to be? Do you want to be the car behind attacking in towards Parabolica and use that slipstream at the final chance? Or do you want to be defending that position in towards the 11th corner? It's all going to be a game to these drivers just to make sure they try and move and get the most amount of points they can from the positions they're in, as I assume Beneke has started the final lap of the race. So I believe he has started the final lap of the race. I've said that before at Laguna Seca. Both times I've got egg on my face. If we're looking at just sub 2 minute times around this circuit in qualifying, I would guess we're probably close to the end of this one.
Yeah, to quote Fernando Alonso, even if we attach a rocket ship, I think this will be the last lap of the race, and Moritz Lerner knows that. And he's looking to try and overtake Kieran Harrison down towards the first chicane. This is the same move that Kieran made on him. This is the same move he made on Kieran 2 laps ago, and Moritz Lerner gets this one stopped and gets this one done, but he has no slipstream in front, so there might be one more go for Kieran Harrison. But look at the drive off the corner from the German. Moritz Lerner means business, and he is looking to try and stay ahead 0.4 of a second. Might just be a step too far.
Yeah, we'll have to watch and see what Kieran Harrison can do, or has Moritz Lerner timed it right to make the move? There are certain points you have to make the move stick here, and the Curva del Seraglio is the opportunity for Kieran Harrison to close back up as we make our way on towards the final or the penultimate straight in towards Parabolica. Maximilian Beneke, though, has managed to keep the likes of Dominic Blair and Sobchik at arm's length, and by doing so, he's got himself rewarded with about a 1.5 second lead, and he's just managed that to the best of his abilities. We've known how quick he is, and as he makes his way through the Ascari chicane for the final time, as the timer is close to expiring, he'll make his way towards Parabolica with maybe a slight look at the camera there, maybe at the other screen, but either way, he's done a phenomenal job here.
Yes, there is a slight showing of emotion from Maximilian Benecke, and this has been phenomenal from start to finish. Took the pole and win in Prelim A, but the owner of Pure Driving School has put on a pure driving performance, and Maximilian Benecke wins the first main race in the HyundaiNVirtualCup, and he's one step on his way to the regional semi-finals. 25 points for the win, 3 points for pole position. Benecke beats them all.
Yeah, and if he got fastest lap as well, that is the clean sweep. We'll have to confirm that later on down the line. But okay, so not the fool's clean sweep that I know he would have wanted, but in any case, great performance from Maximilian Benecke to take the first race win of the HyundaiN Virtual Cup in the European qualification.
Yes, a brilliant win for Maximilian Benecke, who is out on top. Second place for Nikodem Sobczak, and then third place for Dominik Blyer. Kamil Pawlowski comes home in fourth for Team Falcon Stussmaster, and then in fifth it is Sean Arnold. Good recovery for Sean. Daniel Lebront in sixth with Maurice Lerner in seventh. Kieran Harrison in eighth ahead of fellow Brit Luke Whitehead in ninth. Florian Hasse in 10th, Jack Olivier in 11th, and Gael Valero in 12th. Then it was Rafael Szotaszek in 13th position, ahead of Alessandro Ottaviani in 14th, the home hero here in Monza. Tinko van der Velde will get a point for his troubles, 15th ahead of Matteo Naldi in 16th, with Robbie Stapleford coming home in 17th position.
Yeah, and Nikodem Sobczak then getting that position ahead of Dominik Blyer on the final corner then. So Dominik Blyer getting that position done, rounding off that second place spot. And, well, for Maximilian Benecke, he got the pole position and had that battling. He had the two behind him. The top three managed to break away. But once again, managed that gap just like he did in the preliminary race at Laguna Seca, and didn't really look back at that point.
No. Brilliant performance from Maximilian Benecke. Pure dominance, didn't make any mistakes. Excellent job from him, and a deserved podium for Maximilian Benecke. But great drives around the field, I think, Kieran. There was a lot of commendable performances.
Yeah, I mean, the battle between Maurice Lerner and Kieran Harrison, really good to see. I mean, they were swapping positions because, as we all know, the top speed, the slipstream is so key around Monza. Maurice Lerner eventually won that battle for 7th place, but that's a healthy amount of points for both drivers. They put on a good display, and even if it turned a little bit strategic towards the end, it just shows you how these drivers are thinking on the fly. They're not just thinking, I want this position. They're thinking longer term. They want to say, do I really want to be on the defence going in towards Parabolica on the final lap? And I've just given the driver behind me all of that lovely slipstream.
Yes, and to confirm your podium, it is Maximilian Benecke who stands on the top step of the rostrum. And then it is Dominik Blyer in second, ahead of Nikodem Sobczak in third. A deserved podium, I think, tonight, Kieran. Excellent all round from those three.
Absolutely. And again, the top three, all of them broke away from the rest of the pack, and it allowed all of them to pick up and reap their rewards. Really good from them, and a good battle for second place. It was nervy at times, but sometimes that's a driver, or as at least us in the commentary box, that's what we want to see. We want to see these drivers on the edge of performance, on the edge of adhesion, giving everything they've got. And I know Tinko van der Velde will be hugely disappointed with today. I know I've mentioned him before, but a driver that he is, getting onto the second row of the grid and only picking up the 1 point, it's 1 point more than maybe he could have, at worst got, but he knows he's got to make sure he brings his A game to the second preliminary round and the second round coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, I was just going to say he'll be very disappointed after tonight, but he's got to kind of funnel that energy into a very big performance on Saturday evening.
he has to. He's got no choice. He's got to make sure he's on the pace. He's got to make sure he's got his racecraft up to a T. And fell afoul slightly of the Rettifilio chicane, and that happens. He qualified in 4th place and bared a brunt of a loss of control. Whether there was contact, didn't quite see in that opening stages. Either way, he fell afoul of it, fell all the way down the order, and it just showed you here with the slipstream, it was difficult to make a pass stick. It was difficult to get away from other drivers. You really had to have a clean lap, an absolutely superb, phenomenal lap, and see if the driver behind you made a slight mistake or missed an apex. That's what you were relying on to try and break the slipstream. If you weren't able to break the slipstream from the drivers behind, all that lap work you did was undone down the likes of the start-finish straight and the Curva del Seraglio.
And plenty of good performances around the field, but we are going to talk to one of the drivers now who was involved in plenty of the battles. We're going to go for an interview with Kieran Harrison. Hello Kieran, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Congratulations tonight, some strong performances. We saw a great battle towards the end of the race between yourself and Moritz Lerner.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm quite pleased with that result. I wasn't quite sure how the pace would be at Monza. I was quite confident for the first race, but obviously the points were in Monza. But I had a great start, and then I spent probably half the race battling. It was early on, a battle with Daniel Lebrant as well, where I think at the time he made a couple of mistakes, and I convinced myself I was faster, and eventually he got past me, and I decided to work with him a bit just to try and pull away from the cars behind. Ended up losing out to Moritz Lerner at the end there, but yeah, it was good fun. I'm pleased with that night.
Yeah, and then obviously thinking in longer run, you've picked up good points heading into Saturday night, so you've given yourself a good footing heading into the semi-finals. Are you confident you can progress in the championship?
Yeah, I mean, that's all it's about at this stage, I guess. I haven't done the maths on it, but I would say it's quite a good chance when you get a decent number of points in this race to advance, given that it's top 20 go through. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident. Just need to try and get up to speed for the other tracks and get another strong result.
And then the Hyundai Elantra TC, the TCR car, a little bit different to maybe what you drive in a regular. How are you finding it out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much experience with the sim at all, so it's hard for me to say whether it's the car or the sim, but it's taken a bit of getting used to, but I'm getting there with it now. It's just getting used to how hard you got to smash the brakes, really, compared to what I'm used to on iRacing. But yeah, it's pretty fun to drive when you get the hang of it.
Yeah, that's actually a great point you make. It's very different to your usual sim of iRacing. What's been the biggest difference, bar maybe the brakes?
Yeah, I would say kind of what I found a lot is it's faster to be, or you get a better exit a lot of the time in a higher gear. So I kind of discovered that at Monza. I was using the wrong gears for half the corners in the practice session beforehand, only when I saw the fastest guys. That's obviously just contrary to what I'm used to. So yeah, as I say, just getting used to it, but I'm getting there now.
Kieran Harrison, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck on Saturday evening.
All right, cheers, thank you.
We are going to stick with interviews now, and we will hear from our race winner this evening, I believe, Maximilian Benecke, who was phenomenal, of course. If you weren't tuning in earlier, he did take pole position in Prelim A and took a race win in Prelim A as well, in similarly enough dominant fashion. And then, of course, here in Monza, took pole position by the skin of his teeth. A little bit, was very close indeed, but was dominant in the race. And let's hear from him now. Maximilian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Congratulations, you are the first ever race winner in the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. How did you find it out there?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was quite tricky on Monza there. Obviously, the lines we have to take is a bit hard, and Dominic put on a good fight behind me, so I tried everything to not get the gap down to, the 0.5 seconds or so that he would be in the slipstream. That worked out quite well. I'm so very happy, as these were literally my first two races ever on the Assetto Corsa, so I'm very happy with that. A bit unlucky for Patrick there, but I think Moritz finished P7, so overall good for the team. We all made it to the second stage, and then hopefully afterwards in the semifinals we can advance to the next stage.
Yeah, you mentioned the simulator as well, as did Kieran Harrison in our previous interview. What's been the hardest thing to adapt to? Because obviously from other sims, it is quite different.
I agree. I mean, every single sim is a bit different. The hardest part usually is to find out about track limits. But then afterwards, obviously, it's all about the setup tweaking, right? So driving-wise, I would say it's probably track limits, because in the end, you still go on the brake, you go on the gas, you kind of find that out pretty quickly on how to drive. But then afterwards, you need to click a lot on the setup to find out what's good on each track. And I think we did a great job overall already for the pre-qualification on Brands Hatch and moving into these 2 races here. So I would say mostly it's the setup work behind it.
Yeah, then heading into race day 2, from yourself and your team's perspective, you're all in great positions. What's the mindset going into that? For me personally, the mindset obviously is like, I won this race now, so I should be already theoretically fine with points going into the semi-final. But I will still use it, or I think we as a team will still use it to just understand the game a bit more and see what we need to improve and where we can improve on. Also learning different tracks is going to be a different challenge again. So I think we will use it as a learning experience. I think Patrick has to do a bit more work and needs to get the result done, but I have no doubt he will do that. So I think for us it's all about learning for the semi-final at the end. Confidence in the team and learning along the way. Maximilian Badeke, congratulations on the win, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We will have one more interview now coming up with another podium placer. That is Dominic Blair, who will be joining us very shortly. A 3rd place there, just behind Nikodem Sobchak in the final of the main race. And let's hear from Dominic. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah.
Congratulations on the podium. Just a little bit off Maximilian in terms of the race win. What did you notice racing around Monza?
Thank you. Monza was quite tricky because the track limits from the game, but I think we managed good also in quali and in the race. It was close to max, but not enough. Maybe next time.
Yeah, you mentioned the track limits there. We saw obviously a lot of interesting interpretations of them due to Assetto Corsa's, I suppose, leniency. Is that something difficult to judge for drivers because obviously you would prefer to focus on the racing, but when you have to balance all those things, does it become difficult?
Yeah, because you can see the track limits, because normally the track limit is the white line, so on what to focus when you drive, but with that it's quite tricky to judge, and it's quite risky also in the race with the slowdowns.
Then heading into race day 2, I asked the same thing to Maximilian. What's your mindset now, because you're in a very good position?
I think just practice and see what we can improve for the semi-finals, and of course help my teammates, because I think we got killed that one. So yeah, let's see on Saturday.
Is it safe to say you want to win a race?
I always want to win the race.
Dominic, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations at the podium.
Thank you. See you.
Great to hear from the 3 guys there. Interesting interpretations, Kieran. A lot of them still just getting used to the simulator, but equally as quick.
Why am I not surprised that was, Maximilian Beneke's first 2 races on Assetto Corsa? Why am I not surprised at that? Anyway, he showed some phenomenal pace. Yeah, he showed some phenomenal pace, and he's proven why he's one of the stalwarts of sim racing. And yeah, as he said, he's got one of those at least positions locked down. We'll be looking to better that, or go for the full house next time, I'm sure, when we go racing again on Saturday. Needless to say, very much the season's kicked off, and I'm thoroughly here for it.
Yes, it has. What a great way to start the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. And of course, you can find more HyundaiN Virtual Cup this Saturday for the race day 2 first I should say, USA race day 1 happening tomorrow, and then you can find more for Europe race day 2. Kieran, I think it's safe to say this is going to be a brilliant cup.
I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. We've seen some good pace from Europe so far, so over to you, USA. And America, I should say.
Yes. Let's see what they can do. We would like to thank HyundaiN, of course, and SOP. You can see below the screens for their continued partnership here with the HyundaiN Virtual Cup. And, of course, all of you for watching at home. Without you guys, this all wouldn't be possible. So thank you very much for tuning in. And thank you very much, Mr. McGinley, for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Dalton, for having me. It was great to cast a race alongside you. Looking forward to getting this cup well and truly underway, which we have done. It's kicked off great, and I'm looking forward to covering more.
Yes, we will be back with you very shortly, folks. Please make sure to check out the official HyundaiN Virtual Cup website if you want to find out more information, as well as the official Discord server. But from us here tonight on Europe Regional Qualification Race Day 1, that is all we do have time for. We will be back before you know it. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next time. Bye-bye.